Hello everyone, my name is Mariners Fanatic, and today we'll be doing a tier list video for the MLB teams for the upcoming 2020 season. It's just around the corner, Thursday. They've got some great matchups with the Nationals Yankees, Scherzer versus Cole, and then Friday the season really kicks off with the rest of the league getting started. So I'm excited for the season, and I just want to do a tier list where I think teams are at and how I think they'll do this season. So the first team is going to be the Angels. And I have them in this good tier. I really like their lineup. The addition of Rendon is great. If I was an Angels fan, I wish they would have gotten pitching instead. But Rendon, he's pretty good. Great news for them today, as Trout said, he's playing for sure. It was somewhat of a question mark for most of the offseason with the coronavirus stuff going on. So it's exciting to see that he's playing because I really like Trout. I don't like the Angels, but I really like Trout, so I'm happy for them. And then the Astros here, the second team. They're a great team. They're not my World Series contenders. And, I am a Mariners fan, so I don't like either of these teams. But, the reason why the Astros aren't up here is because I think their pitching has taken a pretty big hit. Losing Cole, but also losing some key relievers. And, guys not being healthy. Verlander and Greinke, yeah, they're still really good, but they're also both 37. So the lineup is going to mash, but the pitching's got to step it up, and that's why they're in the great tier. The Oakland Athletics, they're also going to be here in the good tier. I would put them here, but, their pitching is a bit of a question mark as well. Jesus Luzardo and AJ Puck, two of their up-and-coming starters, are not for sure going to be starting the season with them. Luzardo with the virus, and then Puck, having some arm issues, I think. So the lineup is pretty solid. Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, Mark Canha, Marcus Semien, Chris Davis, a lot of great guys on that team. So I think that lineup's going to be good, and the pitching is usually pretty good. They got Frankie Montas back from his suspension, so that should be good. But overall, they're still going to be here in the good tier until Luzardo and Puck can get healthy and get back in the rotation. The Blue Jays, I'm going to put them in the tier. Last year they were kind of more down here in this range, but they're here this year because they could be good. They got Ryu in the offseason, and then they've got all the young talent, Bichette, Guerrero, Biggio. They've got prospects like Nate Pearson on his way up. So they're really good, but is that going to translate? Is the pitching going to be good enough? Ryu's not enough for that rotation. Other guys have to step up, and then are the young guys going to continue to do well? I think Bichette's going to, tear the cover off the ball. I think Guerrero will, but Biggio, wasn't the best last year. We'll see. Hopefully he can get better. But that's why they're in the tier for me. And then the Atlanta Braves, they're up here in the great tier for me. I would have them in the World Series contenders, but personally I don't think their pitching is going to hold up. They had Cole Hamels. He's sitting out. Felix Hernandez decided to sit out. So overall, the pitching is somewhat of a question mark. They still have Fultonevich, Soroka, and some other great guys, but I think that rotation might be hurting. The bullpen is not top tier. It's pretty good, but not top tier. So that's why they're in the great column for me, especially because their lineup is still amazing. They got Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Acuna. It sucks they couldn't get Puig. Puig isn't everybody's favorite, but he's still a good player, and I think if they had Puig too, they would be up here as well. But I'm going to keep them in the great column. Brewers, they're going to be in the column for me. I don't dislike the Brewers, but I'm also not necessarily a fan of how they set up their team. The bullpen is great. They got Corey Knebel back. They've got Hader. The rotation is decent with Woodruff heading that rotation. But it's just not amazing. And, they'll probably be kind of in this range, but I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. They might if there's an expanded playoffs this year, but for me, they're going to be in this tier. I also think their lineup has some question marks in it. Yelich apparently has not been doing very well in the summer camp, but they've got some other interesting guys like Avisail Garcia in the offseason. So we'll see what happens. They've always got intriguing players and always seem to scrap and get their way up into these upper tiers. Moving on to the Cardinals, I also think they're in the tier for me. They lost out on Ozuna. They traded Jose Martinez. Their offense was already not great last year. Goldschmidt cannot carry that team. Matt Carpenter is going to have to, get better than he was last year and have a comeback if they want to move up into one of these tiers. The pitching is still pretty solid, but for me, the offense was not great last year in the playoffs, and it got a lot worse. So that's why I'm bumping them down here. The Cubs. The Cubs, they are also going to go here. Yu Darvish, had a great point last year, but then he was also really bad at some point during the season as well. So it's hard to say with Yu if he can get back to his days with the Rangers and be really solid and show what he did kind of towards the end of last season, then I would put him higher. But they're staying here because the rotation is question mark. Quintana, Lester, you don't know what you're going to get out of them all the time as they're aging. Hendricks is always a solid arm, but overall the rotation is just could be good, could be bad. And then the lineup, you got Rizzo, Baez, Chris Bryant, but in general, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of holes in the lineup and holes in the rotation, and the pen's really not amazing either. So that's kind of why they're here. The Diamondbacks, we're going to put them up here in the good tier. I really like the Diamondbacks where they're headed. I think they're a great team. Their lineup is looking solid. Ketel Marte, Eduardo Escobar, David Peralta, Starling Marte. So I think they're up here. And then the rotation, yes, they lost Greinke, but they got Mad Bum, and they've got Zach Gallen. And overall, the rotation is, pretty good. They still have Robbie Ray. The bullpen is not bad at all. So they could even creep up here depending on if the team can get hot at the right time. The Dodgers are going to be our first World Series contender. They just locked up Mookie Betts to a long-term contract. Great move by them. I don't need to say much on them because everybody knows they're World Series contenders. It was sad to see that Gavin Lux won't be making the squad, but maybe he can get up there later in the season. But overall, the pitching's good. The offense is amazing. They're definitely a favorite. The Giants are going down here. They're bad. They're not good. I don't know much about the Giants, to be honest, but I know they're not good. That's what I know. Posey's sitting out. They lost Mad Bum. They lost Will Smith. Overall, rotation's not great. Lineup's not great. Bullpen's not great. So they're down there. And the Cleveland Indians, they're going to go here in the good. I would put them lower, but their rotation is just too good. They've got Savale, Clevenger, Bieber, Carrasco. It's just a really good rotation that's, hopefully going to carry them through to the playoffs. They still have Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, Francisco Lindor. But overall, I just don't have enough trust in that lineup top to bottom. So that's why I put them in the good tier. And over here to my Seattle Mariners, we are going to put them in the below average tier. A lot of people I've been seeing on MLB.com and other videos of YouTubers with their tier lists, and they have them all the way down here, like 28th out of 30, and I'm just like, yes, I'm a Mariners fan, yes, I'm biased, but they're not that bad. The rotation could be a weak point, but Kendall Graveman has been looking great in the summer camp. Marco Gonzalez is always consistent. Taijuan Walker's been looking good coming back, and we're just hoping we can get some great innings out of Sheffield and Dunn and Kikuchi. But the lineup, on paper maybe it's not standout. They don't have necessarily any stars, but Seager's consistent. He's not going to be amazing, but he's still good. Same thing with D. Gordon. Malik Smith, hopefully he can make a resurgence. But a lot of our young guys, Evan White, Kyle Lewis, I'm really excited for them. Jake Fraley to see how they do. I think Kyle Lewis is dark horse Rookie of the Year candidate for the American League, as well as Evan White. So I'm excited for the Mariners and them this season. Marlins are going to go right next to them. The Marlins are on the come up. Personally, a lot of people don't think this, but I think Derek Jeter's taking them in the right direction. The pitching is getting a lot better. That's probably a strong point for them. Their offense was weak last year. They went out and got Jonathan VR. I saw a video of them yesterday hitting back-to-back-to-back home runs. So I think the Marlins are going to be okay. I think they're going to fight in that NL East division. So I'm putting them in the below average tier. And then the New York Mets, they're also going to go in here in the For me, I would put them higher, but just the pitching is just too much of a question mark. Syndergaard's out. DeGrom may not start the season. The bullpen could be really good with Diaz and Familia, Seth Lugo, but it could also not be good because Diaz struggled out. And they lost Wheeler. They don't have, as I said. So they're just kind of in the tier. We don't know what's going to happen. The Nationals, they're going to go up here in the great tier. They didn't lose a whole lot from last year. They gained. They added Starlin Castro, Eric Thames, the rotation, Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin. Overall, they have a great team. Yes, Ryan Zimmerman's sitting out, but honestly, it's not that big of a loss because they can move Howie Kendrick to first base and pair him in a platoon role with Thames, and they got Castro. So I think the Nationals and Juan Soto, he's going to be great again this year. Orioles here in the bad tier. They're rebuilding. Not much to say there. They're just not in the best spot. Padres. This one's a tough one. I think put them here. Their lineup is not bad. Hosmer needs to make a comeback. Better year after signing that big contract. Tatis needs, but the bullpen is crazy good. Pagan, they got from the Rays. They still got Kirby Yates. They got Drew Pomeranz in the offseason. A lot of great moves for the Padres with the bullpen. So if the rotation can hold up, they could even be higher. But for now, they have to stay in that tier. And then the Phillies, kind of the same thing. The lineup pretty solid. Gregorius, Hoskins, but McCutcheon, it's mostly just Aaron Nola. Hopefully Zach Wheeler can make a comeback with his free agent contract that he got with the Phillies this year. And then Vince, other than those three, it's not crazy amazing. And then the bullpen, it's mostly just Hector Neris, and there's not a lot of live arms in that pen. Pirates. In a lot of people's tier lists, I've been seeing, the Mariners lower than the Pirates and the Giants. But I'm biased. I'm a Mariners fan, but I just don't see it. Yes, you have Josh Bell and Jamison Tylon, but there's not much else. So Pirates, they're going to be in that bad tier. Rangers, they're going to be over here in the below average tier for me. New stadium, it looks nice on the inside, but from the outside, it looks like a tin can. And it's like the Mariners were, and what they had going on then. I think Lance Lynn will do well again, but Mike Minor, can he have another outstanding season? I don't know. Elvis Andrus is getting old. They're just an aging group, and so I still think, even though they picked up Todd Frazier, but he's getting old too. I think they're below average. Joey Gallo is going to have to carry them if they want to move up at all, but below average for me. Tampa Bay Rays, they're going to go up here in the great tier. I think the Rays are really good. Their pitching is phenomenal. Their lineup is really good too, but the lineup is not quite as good as some of these more top tier teams that I'll get to in a minute that haven't shown up yet. I love the rotation. Charlie Morton, Blake Snell, great 1-2 punch, and then the bullpen's crazy good with Nick Anderson. Just great team all around. Red Sox, below average for me, and it's tough with the Mookie Betts situation. They're not going to get him back with him locking up his deal with the Dodgers, but they got a lot of great prospects out of it, and they cut a lot of payrolls. So Red Sox fans, it sucks that you're not going to get Mookie Betts back, but you also got to look at the benefits of what you could do in the next years. And the Yankees are getting older. I'll get to them in a minute, but they're getting older and a lot of hefty contracts. So the Red Sox could be in a better position than the Yankees in a few years. The Cincinnati Reds, they're up here. I really like the Reds. I like the rotation. Sonny Gray, Castillo, Trevor Bauer. I think the rotation's really good. The pen with Michael Lorenzen, the pen could be better. It's not the best, but their lineup is amazing. Castellanos, they got, there's just so many great pieces in that lineup, and I think they're going to finally get over the hump of being an average team and get up into the World Series contenders. Colorado Rockies, below average. The lineup is still good. They got Blackman, Arenado. I'm excited for Brendan Rodgers to see how he'll do. Prospect coming up. But the rotation is not good. The bullpen is not good. So that's the Rockies. And then the Kansas City Royals down here in the bad tier. To be honest, I don't know much about the Royals right now, but I know they're rebuilding. Whit Merrifield, they've got Jorge Soler, but who knows how long he'll be with the team too, as they're still kind of in that rebuild mode. So they're in the bad tier. And then the Detroit Tigers are along, got Jonathan Scope and CJ Cron. They still have Cabrera. So the lineup, I guess, is somewhat improved over last year. But overall, the pitching is not great. They just really only have like Matthew Boyd up there. Minnesota Twins, World Series contenders, the other team that I root for. Big Joe Mauer fan growing up, Torrey Hunter, those guys. And I just, I like the team. And their rotation could use some work. Kenta Maeda, Rich Hill offseason acquisitions. Michael Pineda's back. But overall, I just don't know if they have enough pitching to win against the Dodgers or maybe even one of these other teams with better pitching. But the lineup is just stacked. It's crazy. Had so many home runs last year, and the lineup is just really good. So that's why they're World Series contenders for me. White Sox, they're going to go in the good tier for me. I think the lineup is really good. But like the A's and the Angels,